The mission today is to sharpen your swords and get you ready for battle. It's time to fine-tune your craft and make you the best in what you do. The mission is to equip you to help anyone purchase what they need. We'll share the best advice from the best in their industry. You'll be listening to a conversation you wish you had with the mentors you wish you had. Take what makes sense to you and makes you better in your career. You guys, Bruce Lee said it best. Absorb what is useful and discard what is not.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Commission Mission. My name's Micah Henderson.
I'm Eric Gervais.
And today we have a special treat for you. Kai Chambers, great friend of mine, mentor of mine, and he's been helping me out for years with nuggets of wisdom, and we're bringing him here to you. Kai?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Kai, somewhere that you're coming from that really impressed me from different things you told me throughout the years is you, before even coming to the financial services industry, you were a successful professional in a different industry, completely different. Tell me a little bit about that and how you ended up.
I was a captain on a ship for 20 years before I went into insurance.
A big ship.
Yeah, offshore supply, about 240 foot.
And take me through the thought process and what you're going through in your life that led you to sitting here today.
Well, after a period of time of working away from your family is what it comes down to. It's really what you're paid for is to be gone for 3-4 weeks at a time. And so, it just came down time to where we had small children at the house. Mm-hmm. We had something going in our life that through one of our children that I was offshore, couldn't do anything about. And my wife and I started making a decision that might need to start looking for something to where I could be with the family every night. And so had a good friend of mine that worked with me at sea for about 12 years. And the night that my wife and I decided that we would make this decision, we pulled up in our driveway and he was sitting there. And he come up and he had been driving me crazy for a couple of years to go into insurance. And it was just that day of discontent is what you call it.
Mysterious ways.
It was unbelievable.
He was right there.
Craziest story. I wish I had an hour to explain that one thing to you. But
Time's
he
everything.
was there and he was just wanting to shoot the bull and be friends. And we were outside and I said, tell me about the industry.
Yeah.
And he looked at me because I told him no so many times.
Yeah. Is this guy interested now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He went into it. He went into, how he started in the business, what he had went through. Mm-hmm. Was making more money than he had made his best year working at sea. And so, it was one of those leap of faith, diving off the diving board.
And what he was saying about his balance, being able to be home with his kids and his family, I'm sure that appealed to you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we both were dealing with that, in our mid-30s, young children. I had 2 daughters and a son. He had 2 sons and a daughter.
Yeah.
And we just made good incomes, and to get away from that was hard.
Right.
Trying to find the
That's
same,
brave.
To replace that kind of income.
But your priority was
with your
family.
was getting to be with our family.
That's interesting because that's how I got into the insurance industry. Was I was taking my son to the park one day and I ran into someone I graduated college with, Micah.
Yeah.
And he was walking out, and what I noticed in him is he was dressed up nice in a suit and tie, he had a big smile on his face, and he had a new kid with him. And I asked him some questions about it. He offered to do a financial analysis with me. And in the middle of that, I said, hey, this looks like a good job. What does it pay? And he closed up his books. He stopped the interview and said, hey, if you're going to continue to pursue this, it would be better for you to do it on your own, on your behalf.
Yeah.
So I'll back off and let you go through the process. I'm
not going to ask for referrals from you that someone you need to talk to.
But what really struck me in that moment was it was about the relationship. He was not chasing the dollar in that moment. He was chasing a relationship with me. And also, too, if I joined EXP, it was going to benefit him as well. So it was just neat to see right away that it was about the relationship. And that's what excited me about.
Well, the one thing I'll tell you, this relationship, we had been friends for years, 12 years. And one of the things that caught me is that the people, there was six people that worked for this one company that had referred the other. There was like one started, The second one came, the third one
like
came.
a chain.
4 of the people were in a hunting club together. So after they would deer hunt all day, they would go back to their club, sit around. I didn't deer hunt, but they would sit around and they would talk about their day or whatever. And 4 of these people worked for this company. And the friend of mine, was pulled into the industry by those 4 people, which there's no telling how many people I have brought into the industry since then, to make sure that continues on.
Yep.
I mean, you're probably talking 30 or 40 people.
You personally have taken from day one.
Right, but
right.
we all these 6 people were working in something totally different, and they were all pulled into the industry by one of these people going, look, this is a great opportunity. This is something people usually know. They can look at you. People who's been in the business for a while can tell if you have the work ethic, communication skills, basic, just of the way the business works and all. They know what to look for.
Yeah, because if you're the type that needs a phone call in the morning, hey, are you up? Hey,
Right.
you making phone calls? Hey, are you doing what you're supposed to do? You're probably not the right fit.
Right.
You really got to be driven. And I always tell people that my bills are always going to be more pressure to me than any manager could ever be.
Right.
My own expectations for myself and what I want to do for my family is way more important than a manager telling me, hey, you did 89 phone calls instead of 100.
Success in this industry, I feel like, comes from, and I hate to say the word, it sounds bad, but it's selfishness. We really care about ourselves. We care about the big boat. We care about the big house. We care about the nice car. We make the money to pay for our children. They're just there eating what we don't eat. That's what I always look at it, kind of like,
I find myself eating what they don't eat, but anyways.
Well, either way, it works the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, kids are not a motivator. You might think they are, but ask someone that's sitting on the couch watching TV, they tell you they love their children, but they do nothing to try to improve their life.
But you're going to be able to provide for them at least, the food, house, clothing.
The most successful people are the ones that are driven by themselves. What do I want? I want a bank account full of money. I want to be able to take my children and my grandchildren on vacation. I want to drive a nice truck and a nice car, live on the water. I want all the big boats and stuff. That's me. And that's a lot to do with, it might sound in a way, but most successful people are successful because of something they wanted. Might be internal, might be external, but that's something that they wanted.
Well, if we break it down to like simple terms, if you order a pizza and you don't tell them your address, the driver's never going to get there. So unless you set that goal and know where you want to get, you're just driving around blind. And it's the same thing also about knowing where you're starting from.
Yeah.
If the driver calls up and says, hey, I'm lost, what's the first question you ask him? Where are you?
What do you see?
Where are you? Unless you know where you are and where you're starting. So that's one of the reasons I think that the relationship aspect of this business is so amazing.
It actually is what's built this business. I believe more than anything is that,
So, talking about success, we like to talk about subjects and themes that are kind of universal, overarching a lot of different kind of sales industries. And something that you really gave me early on was just talking about the subject of activity. And when I may have been discouraged about a big sale falling through, or even when I'm on high or on low, that you don't always have 100 name list of successful business owners that you met at that chamber event ready to sign on the line. So you got to start from somewhere. So whether it is starting talking to a family or friends or a friend of your mom's, that's activity, and to keep it going and take it seriously, and let's talk about activity.
Well, activity is the number one thing you have to look at in this type of industry. Any type of outside sales all depends on the activity of what you put into. I have a daughter, 25 today, that decided, happy birthday, Kaylee. She didn't want to go into insurance. Tried to talk to her, tried to say, hey, look, this might be a great business. You could take over Dad's business one day. And no, she just was not going to go into insurance. My son, my wife, we have a lot of insurance people in our family. But she was going to be the outlier, the rebel. And so she went into medical sales. And at first she was calling me up and asking me, Daddy, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And I said, I don't care what you do. Activity is going to drive who you are in this business. If you're in outside sales, you have to set up a standard, a strategy of how you're going to maintain that. Not only how you're going to do it. That's easy. I can put a strategy together of what to do every day. But how do you maintain it day after day after day after day after day after day, 20 years, 30 years? How do you, we are our worst enemies. We're going to find a reason not to be doing things we need to do.
Just do busy work or something.
It's raining or it's hot or I don't feel good or what. We have to maintain that activity. And what I told her at first is that you have to set up a standard, a strategy of what you expect yourself to do every day, and you hold that's your job. You hold yourself to that activity level. The sales come, the income comes. You know, the rapport with people comes. The thing is where people get into trouble in outside sales is they quit their activity level. They quit their activity level. When I started in the business, I showed Micah this a million times, that I had what they call a route card. It had a line in the middle. Had a line in the middle, had the lines across the page. And on the left side of those lines, I had to have 10 people every day. Every day I had to have 10 new prospects. On the right side were people I was working on. And after the side on the right got full, I'd have to eliminate people as I did not sell them because they were people I was just chasing. They were people that acted good, that said they wanted something, but they did not either. They were running me along, or they didn't have the confidence to tell me they just didn't want to do anything.
And let me stop you real quick. When do you know to cut them off?
I think it came down to a strategy with me to where I had the right side, probably was 30 lines, 30 names on it. That never carried over to another page. It might have carried over to a future phone call, but I eliminated them. As the side on the left got my 10 names on it, it would always push those names off. So I never had a problem with eliminating them because I kind of knew inside they weren't going to buy. If they did, they were going to call me in a month or 6 months, you know, when the husband ran the stop sign and almost got killed, or they thought they had a knot on the back of their head and they had cancer, then they'll call you back. Yeah. But you can't motivate somebody that's really not motivated. Yeah. You know, motivation's an internal thing. It's personal. You know, you have to be motivated. You have to be the person to do it. I can give you a motivational speech, but the motivation still comes within you. Yeah. And so that elimination became, really, it was pretty simple because as I moved the new prospects over, it would eliminate those people. And I knew which ones to eliminate. It never was, because I always tried to stay consistent on that side of being those 30 names, and that's who I worked on it constantly.
And if you knew that you're having the activity and you're keeping that level up, that you know, there's been times when I didn't have as many people to talk to, and I was really holding on for dear life. These three, and I need all three of these three to go through because I got to pay my bills. Really? And you know, people smell that commission breath, and they can tell that you're desperate. But if you have enough people to talk to, it's, you know,
that's when you're
good luck
your
out
own
there.
Worst enemy.
Right.
Your own worst enemy is when you're chasing those three people, because they do know they're being chased, and you are desperate. When you don't act like that, or you're developing your strategy, you're hitting your numbers. I mean, it's not a hard thing to do if you really think about it. It's not hard to find 10 people. I mean, whether you said 10 a day or 10 a week, it's not that hard when you really start thinking about it. It's how do you get the time to be able to continue finding those 10 people and continue working with the 30 on the other side that you're trying to sell or close the sale on.
Yeah, one of the things that I use in my business, and this will you'll relate to this, is Baffles. So if I want to accomplish a goal, my baffle, or the thing that will keep me pointed in that direction a lot of times, especially in cases when I was first starting out and didn't have a lot of money, I would call some really close friends and say, hey, I'm going to do this by Tuesday, or I owe you $100.
They'll hold you accountable then.
And now your friend's like, good. So they're checking, and you don't want to let that friend down. Right. And then another thing I did on the other end, so I'm not chasing clients, the baffle that I started putting in place was giving them a step. it could be a real small step. Maybe it's, hey, fill out this application, or give me these numbers, send me a text message with these numbers,
little homework,
whatever it is. And putting the ball in their court to take action towards their goal. Because one of the big mistakes I made early on was chasing people, chasing, and I would do everything. If it was, I was raised in the customer's always right, and so I was constantly breaking my back and going over above and beyond on people that would never have been my client in the first place.
Right. And if you realize one point on this, I think it's very important, especially in developing agents. If you're depending on that one or two people, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And you have to make people understand it is not an emotional game. It's not something that you're just trying to, win the battle in your brain of are you doing the job or not? Because your brain will lie, you will lie to yourself constantly, going, I'm working
That's the worst
so
thing you can do.
hard. I'm working so hard, and nobody wants to buy from me. But when in reality, you wake up and you go, well, I'm not going to work till 9, and I'm going home at 3. I'm taking a 2-hour lunch. I don't deserve to be successful.
Yeah.
I need to go back on that boat. I need to go back on that ship because I am not worthy to do this business. But when I discipline myself, and that's the only word I can use right there. And I taught my children this, and Micah knows my children. When I taught them, discipline yourself is something of where you're able to maintain and also get to the levels you want to get to. That discipline comes down. What are those 10 names every day? What are those 10 names every day? I cared nothing about the sale. I cared nothing about the income or whether I wrote it. I did want to make the sales, don't get me wrong, but my focus every day was that if I can have the activity, everything else will fall into place.
That's right. And the only other thing I wanted to hear on the topic of activity is something that you had shared with me before about intent and putting it out there that, I am expecting and to receive what you're looking for. I'm going to find what I'm looking for, and things starts just seeming to line up, whenever you're doing that.
Definitely when you if I excuse me, if I tell the universe or put in my thoughts that I want to make a lot of money, and I sit on the couch every day watching TV and take no activity towards that step, the universe doesn't take what I'm thinking as my intent. It sees my action as my intent, and so faith without works is dead, right?
It's something mysterious about it. The more work I put in, the more that comes my way.
It just seems to line up.
It seems like the more I give. And I taught another thing with my children, I taught them about giving. And it's not just about money. It's not just about giving a donation or giving to a church. It's about giving of who you are. Whether you give to your employer, whether you give to your children, what kind of children do you have? When you give to your spouse, and I'm talking about your time, not money. I'm talking about when you give of yourself to your spouse, what kind of marriage do you have? Same with business. When you give to that activity, and say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm focused on this. I'm not focused on all this. It's focused on finding those people to put on to that list. It's unbelievable.
That's deep.
Supernatural how this stuff comes back to you.
If you give someone your time and your energy, that has to be like equal, like your essence, your soul.
It's like a balancing thing where you balance. You're giving, and all right, let's give back to you. We're going to balance back to you. It's the same with money. When you give money to organizations, it's amazing how it comes back to you.
So now we're doing the activity. We put the strategy in place, and day after day after day, and we're successful. We develop a book of business that of people you have built trust with and rapport with. Let's talk about following up with them and serving them as time goes on, because when they think about anything that you do, you want them to only think of you.
That's correct.
You want them to come back to you. So taking care of your clients, your book of business.
That's a strategy. That's nothing but what we're talking about.
Part of that activity.
Everything is part of that activity. When you wake up in the morning, you go, well, I don't really have nothing to do today. I used to always tell agents, get back to your clients. Get back to your clients. When times were tough, if the company was going through something, get back to your clients. Get back to your clients. Because your clients want to be, I talk to clients every day. I have a habit of calling 5 or 10 people a day just to say hello to them. It's amazing how many of them are, man, I appreciate you calling. I appreciate you calling. There's where your lead in, perfect example of where your lead in to ask for referrals. You know, hey, well, look, if your sister, your brother, your mother, your cousin, neighbor need something, or if they're talking about something one day, or if you just want to tell them my name, you know, I appreciate you doing that. And it's amazing how many people do, because at this time in my career, 20 years later, 90% of my business comes from my clients.
Yep.
I'm proud of that. If somebody asks me, what do you think? I've earned it, but I've developed this rapport, developed this relationship with these people. Well, who do I want? I love them as clients. You know, I don't have people, everybody has a client they might not care to go to Thanksgiving dinner with, but
that's such a nice way of putting it.
Most of my clients I really like. I like who they are. I feel like most of my clients have done pretty well in business, in life. Well, who do I want to be with? I want to be with their friends and their family, because that's who they're going to be usually like.
And that's kind of going back to the universe that's lining up for you, is that when you work in a commission-based business, you attract the people, most of the time, 90% of the time, you attract people that are somewhat like-minded, that I mean, there's been times when there's just somebody who is god-awful, and I'm not going to be treated that way. Right. I'm going to say, hey, you know, I don't think I can help you, or here's someone else who can help you, or I'm booked for a year and a half, you know, and we find a way. But a lot of times you seem to stick with the clients that you like, and you don't mind calling them. Right. On that subject, you know, one way that you guys kind of differ is, Eric, you use a CRM. Kai, you do not. You do not have a, I mean, I don't mean an Excel spreadsheet, and I don't mean a notebook. I mean like a computer program.
Excuse me, what does Eric use?
It's a CRM. It's a customer rights management, or customer relationship. Customer relationship or client relationship management. Right. Basically, it's a follow-up software. It's a client database.
New technology.
So you put all so the way I have it set up is any forms on my website, if it's a contact form, a application, or whatever it is, it takes that information and sends it over to the CRM and tags them accordingly. And then we have created campaigns, email, text, and phone call follow-ups over a 12 or 24 month period, to where when they go into that and they get tagged, it's constantly. Now, some of those activities are done automated, but sometimes it shows a task for me. Hey, call this person at this time. You know, so for me, it's an easy way to manage. It's a little bit of a learning curve to learn the CRM and figure out how it works. But then once that's in place, it's so. I mean, it's.
They're making it too easy.
Yeah, it happens.
and that's what
I don't do that. I'm an Excel spreadsheet. Every client I've ever had is on that spreadsheet. So there's a list that pops up. I figured out how to have a list pop up to where I know who to call or when to call.
I don't know how to do that.
But one of the things that's
Excel
really
for dummies
becoming evident, though, it's not so much the system that you have that's going to make you successful or not. It's that you have a system that works for you, and that you work that system.
It's a time factor. It's a time factor. And my business is always time. I don't have time to do everything I need to do. And so having those type of tools are important.
Well, even my partner reminds me that time is our most precious resource, and we can't ever give it back.
Right. Yeah.
And so you have to really concentrate and focus on how you're going to spend that time to get the results that you want.
Good point.
So Excel, CRM, like what are some other tools that we can use? And I mean, I learned a lot from you. I got notebooks. I got Excel. I don't even know how to do that listing. You're gonna have to show me that one. But those are the type of things that I use at the moment. I'm really considering some different CRMs to as my book of business grows to help manage it. But what other systems?
I'll tell you the one thing with the notebooks are when it's a 3-year-old case and you got to go back through 40 notebooks, then you realize there's got to be a better way to do this. You know, but my spreadsheets I keep, when I call, I ask questions. I want to know spouse's name. I want to make sure how's John doing, you know, and people are impressed by that. They, you know, if you don't talk to somebody in a year and you say, well, how was your knee replacement?
Yeah.
And they go, well, that was last year. And we just check and see how things went, And so my sister's fixing to go through a knee replacement. I want to be able to tell her how you did. And they want to be able to tell you about their life. People want to feel important. The more you make them feel important, the more you're in their life.
Yeah.
And it's like you're saying, you want them thinking about you and only you when it comes to that type of, putting new business or referring someone. Well, those things add up to that rapport that you're trying to build with people.
Yeah, that's good. So, we have the activity. We have built the book of business. We're maintaining that book of business with tools and with activity. And now we are a trusted resource for these people. Referrals, you already started getting into it a little bit, but
one thing I will tell you about the referral, I use a business card. I've seen it done, and a lot. I always say I'm 99% copy and 1% original. I've copied everything I've seen from people that I thought did a great job. And one guy that I met years and years ago, he used his business card, and so I have a little strategy when I walk into an appointment. I always hand them a business card. We don't talk about it. Here I am. Here's my business card. Let's get to business. We go into business. But when we get finished, it's important, I hand them another business card. And they'll say, well, you didn't give me one. I said, no. Sometimes there'll be 2 of them, 3 of them. And I'll say, no, I want you to take this business card. If I've done what I need to do, if I've done a good job, give it to one of your neighbors or one of your family members or something. Let them know what I do. And then I point to the business card because on my business card, it tells what I do. And I don't have a bunch of information on my business card. I'm not trying to have a pretty picture. My business card is my name, my phone number, and what I do. This is what I do.
And then they say, oh, I didn't know you did that as well.
I didn't know you did annuities. What is an annuity? And I'm able to go in and explain to them what an annuity and how it can benefit them.
And the way that you do it, and I've always admired this about you. I mean, it's a cool, calm, collected, respectful way of doing it. But really layman's terms, that you're not going to use a lot of terminology that they're not going to know just to make yourself look smarter.
Right. Yeah. Let's say that one person gives 2 business cards out. Think about that's the referrals that you have 1,000 clients. Now you start building up referrals to where you're busy every week. Not having to pound the pavement or shake the bushes like they always say. 90% of my clients come from referrals, at least.
That's amazing. So another referral source that I use a lot that's been really successful for me is not just satisfied clients, but other businesses, other industries in the peripheral of mine. And we've talked about, like, let's say, homeowners insurance, having a network of realtors that'll say, hey, here's 3 different local agents that can do this for you. The guy at the top is really good, though. I prefer get the best results out of the guy at the top. But
they will forget about you quickly if you don't keep in touch. One thing about real estate agents are like life insurance agents, like any type of person that does outside sales. You're busy.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about that other person. And so you have to keep your name and you have to keep that person knowing, look, this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. A lunch.
What's the best ways, or what's the best ratio for reaching out to clients or reaching out to businesses? Is it, twice a year for clients and once a quarter for business? Or
well, you get to a point to where you get so many clients, it takes me a couple months to call everybody. I mean, you think you can call everybody at one time, but once you get on the phone, it's a 15-minute, 20-minute conversation sometimes.
Well, some people won't answer. Some people will talk your ear off.
And so it usually, if I can get to 20, 25 people a day, that's a pretty good day, Yeah.
Well, no, that is good on top of juggling your normal day-to-day activities of staying productive.
Right.
25 is good.
We also
shoot for that.
Virtual assistants sometimes to handle, like, if we have a lot of call volume and they just call on your behalf. They're very personable, but just to make that initial contact, and then what they're trying to do is either schedule a call or schedule an appointment with me. And so
that's that new technology. And that's good.
But it took a while to get to this point. Like, I've been through, And so for me, I just don't like making phone calls. That's just something that I just don't like to do, right? But I know that I have to do that to be successful in the industry that I'm in.
I hate making cold calls.
Yeah.
I love making client calls.
Right.
I used to trick myself into basically saying, this is exciting. I get to make some new friends. Who knows what's going to happen from this phone call? And, a lot of times nothing did, but every once in a while something did. And that got me through years ago, just thinking about, I got to do some activity. And a lot of that activity, nothing would come from it, but it was crazy how stuff just seemed to fall into place.
Right.
I went knocking on a door, and the person I was actually going to speak to shot me down quick. But it was someone else in the room that heard, what I was talking about, that picked up my card and called me.
I was taught early, and going on that path, when you make your phone calls, challenge yourself to say, okay, how many people would it take to say yes? Mm-hmm. You're going to get no's, but how many would take, if I called 10 people, how many would it take for me to get through to somebody go, yeah? So I would call people and say, hey, look, if you got a family, this is how I make my living, is by dealing with new people. Or if you have a family member, somebody I could call, or, maybe you could give them my card. And I never got to 10, ever. Mm-hmm. It was always like number 4. I would say, well, it'd be number 8 today. It'd be number 4. And I was surprised. Yeah. I like, man, I got to quit telling myself I can't do this.
Well,
every
time
it tells
you're
me
closer
wrong.
to the yes. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Out of all the agents that you've helped, get started, is there one particular bit of wisdom or subject that you think was more impactful than the rest?
Well, I think that basically the activity is the thing I try to stress to people, constantly, as an agent or someone that's dealing with the public. When I learned that I was not an agent. I wasn't out there trying to make a living. It was my job. But when I learned that there was a bigger purpose, there was a higher calling for what I did, and I was an advocate. That's the way I've always told people. I advocated for my clients. I went into a house one time, and the gentleman's like, no, we don't need no insurance. We don't need no insurance. And I'm looking at his family, and I'm looking at his 2 kids playing a video game, and his wife sitting there going, are you stupid or what? And she's trying to talk him into it. And I'm just sitting there listening, and finally it dawned on me, this is my job. My job is to show this guy that's procrastinating a very important decision. I've got to overcome that procrastination. So I'm no longer someone trying to make a living. I'm advocating for his children and his wife. Look, man, something happens to you. What happens to this family? Now, if he goes, I don't care.
They're wasting your time.
I need to get up and walk out the door and wait for her new husband next year. But with this situation, the gentleman did go, when I finally asked, what is the problem? And it's always money. It's almost always money. It's never the need. People say, well, they don't have a need. Everybody has a need. Very rarely you're going to come across somebody that doesn't need a need. His was money. And when we were able to show him, look, man, you're paying $90 a month for basic cable, and you won't pay $30 to make sure your family is covered with just a basic term policy for the next 20 years. I think opened his eyes to realize that I cared about it. I really believe that for some crazy reason, I think he went, does this man care about my family than I care about him? And he made the decision to do it. And I've always remembered that to where I advocate for my clients.
That's a great mindset.
I think that's the thing that's built my career the way it's been built, because the people that I deal with know that I'm there for them. I'm there to make sure their families are taken care of. Not me. My family's okay.
Yeah.
Mike, I tell you, my family's fine. But I want to make sure that if one day I get that phone call, I know I did the right job. And that family's taken care of. Very important to me.
That's a great mindset to have starting your day.
Yeah.
That you're going to be okay because you're going to do the activity.
Right.
You're going to put in the work. I'm going to be okay. My kids are going to be fed. But to know that I'm going to go out there, I'm going to make some friends, I'm going to help them, I'm going to help their families. Yeah, that's a great mindset to have.
I just want to go back to the business card idea. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'm going
It's
to
a
steal
strategy.
that out of your playbook because it's what I really liked about it was no one else is doing that.
Right.
Not a lot of other people are doing that. So immediately you differentiate yourself in that moment. and give yourself to show that you're unique and that you have some advantages to working with you.
The thing I noticed was, and this is as real as I can be, when I hand them the business card, and this is me, this is that 1%, this is me.
Original Kai.
Original Kai. When I would hand them the first business card, they always looked at it. They never looked at me. I didn't give them the card, and they kept looking at me in the eye. Whenever I handed them the business card, their eyes went directly to it, and I was able to say what I wanted to at that point. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the meeting, when I pulled out a few more, and sometimes it's just a stack. I mean, it might be 2 or 3, and I hand them the business card. Almost always they go, "You already gave me one," and I'm able to say, "Wait a minute, this is that card. You got it the first. These cards are for people that might need my services or might need some help with this." And if you did the job right, if you handled your responsibility right, it's amazing people know that. And they go, "Well, I do want my friends or my family to know." It's amazing how it works.
Yeah.
It is not everybody. It's never 100% on anything we do. But where it came down to that business card and the way I did it, I was trying to get, and then I started designing my own business card because I wanted them to see exactly what I was talking about. Mm-hmm. I handle life. I handle annuities. I handle Medicare. I handle long-term care. And I handle disability insurance. And usually people go, "Well, man, that handles a lot of stuff right there. This is what," and then people say, "Well, this is what I need." Then I was able to come back and develop that relationship off of that. So it's just been funny how it's worked over all these years. Even when I walk out of a house now, I get kind of laughing, going, "Man, I've been doing that for so long."
And it still works. It's a classic. So I really appreciate you coming in today. All the topics that we got on and everything that you spoke on. I mean, I'm still learning from you. There's going to be a lot of people learning from you, and I appreciate.
I'll say one thing real quick about what you had said about everybody. I know people not doing this stuff. There are not a lot of people doing what we do.
No.
I mean, it used to be a ton of people. When I started, there was a ton of people. Every house I went into, there was somebody else that had been talking to this client or been talking to these people. Now I rarely hear about another agent. I rarely hear about anybody else competing or telling them it's on the TV or it's on the internet.
Going the extra mile.
But it's amazing how many people go, "You know what, I just can't find anybody to do what you do." Mm-hmm. And it's kind of opened the doors up. I think things are better now than they were when I originally started in 99. So,
yep.
Fantastic.
I mean, get out there and do the work, do the activity, go the extra mile, and you're going to have it made.
Activity.
And don't fool yourself.
That's it.
I listen to you.
And
the worst thing you can do is fooling yourself and tricking yourself.
I hear from my partner all the time, follow up.
We lie to ourselves. I look I look in the mirror, and every morning I go, "You a good looking man." Then I go, "No, you're not." And so I have to keep telling myself the truth there, So
Kai, as always, thanks for your time.
Right.
And
want one shout out?
Yeah, please do.
My daughter, 25 years ago, we went through a lot. My wife and I did, one of the most emotional times ever in our life. And we were blessed, unbelievable, with a 9-pound, 9-ounce baby girl. And today she's 25 years old. And I just want to say, hey, happy birthday to you. And we love you. And glad you're here.
What's your name?
Kaylee.
Kaylee's going to hear
Happy
this.
birthday,
Kaylee Marie.
Happy birthday,
Marie. So she's a winner.
Excellent.
Very worthy shout out there. We'll have to make sure she hears it.
Yeah, she will.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kai.
Thank you.
Wow, what an awesome episode here with Kai. It's one of the huge takeaways I got was when he was talking about activity. Sometimes we run up against a wall, we get shot down and turned down and no, and it sends us into this cave of despair. And the fact that we can just take these little steps each day to make sure that the business is successful. It's how do you eat that elephant is one bite at a time, and it's really awesome to keep that into perspective.
That's right. I've always kept that the idea of keeping your activity up, every day and being consistent with it. and that when you do, everything seems to line up for you. You can. It's almost unexplainable how when you work hard, the stars and the planets line up to give you what you want. You put your intent out there into the universe, and it responds to you. When you put in the hard work, everything's going to work out. Just take care of people, do the work, and get what you want out of life. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Commission Mission. It is our mission to increase your commission. If you got any gold nuggets out of the episode today, make sure you don't miss any more. Click, like, subscribe, whatever that action is for the platform that you're watching this on. Make sure you don't miss any more good nuggets, and help us help you.
Yeah, one of the things that new or struggling entrepreneurs struggle with is asking for the sale. Asking for what you need, and they're afraid to do, afraid of rejection. But I'll give you a sample of that exactly right now. Is if this helped you in any way, please share this with 3 friends of yours, 3 people that you think would benefit from what was discussed on these podcasts. And
friends in sales, anyone in your organization that can benefit from this needs to hear it. Thanks, everybody.